Hi everyone, my name is Shelley Schwab and I'm an elementary art teacher at Mark Twain Elementary. For my servant leadership project, I decided to focus on a project that actually started last year, which was to create a makerspace for our school and our library. As an art teacher, I've always seen the value in students making and tinkering and know that the process really benefits them in many different ways. When I have early finishers, I often let them explore different building materials like blocks or Legos. And in a very short amount of time, often like 5 or 10 minutes, they can figure out many different ways to make things like fidget spinners or these fun glasses shown here. And I really saw a need for an increase in opportunities for our students to engage in project-based learning and STEAM activities. Last year, I had the opportunity to work closely with a classroom teacher to incorporate these STEAM and project-based learning lessons into her classroom curriculum. One of the project-based learning units we did was around supply and demand, and students came up with products to sell at a holiday store to raise money for our school. So this is a picture of one of our kiddos making stamped tea towels. Other classes were also incorporating STEAM projects in their room, like this fourth grade class. They created a balloon float and we had a Thanksgiving Day parade. After talking to teachers that were incorporating these type of projects into their classroom, we really felt that more teachers would get involved, but maybe they don't know how or they don't have the tools or supplies to do them. So we came up with the idea of creating a makerspace in our library to encourage other teachers to use project-based learning and STEAM into their curriculums. So I did some research and learned a little bit about makerspaces and how they can benefit students in many ways. I found a grant opportunity through Lowe's and talked to my principal and other teachers about the Makerspace idea. I got the go-ahead from my principal to apply, so I put together an application. And after waiting a couple months impatiently, we were informed that we were awarded over $4,000 in grant money to create a makerspace in our library. So moving forward, I had two overall objectives for this project: setting up the makerspace, which involved inventorying our current supplies, ordering furniture and new supplies for the makerspace, and finally organizing and setting up the space in our library. My second objective was to facilitate a workshop to teach our staff about why a makerspace is important to student learning and best practices for utilizing the space to maximize student learning. I worked with my principal and a teammate to come up with a plan on how to move forward with this project. My principal and I worked on putting together a timeline for ordering supplies and setting up the space, which is still happening now. Another part of the plan was for me and a team member to teach a workshop. My principal found a makerspace workshop and paid for me and my teammate to go to this workshop and learn more about the different aspects of makerspaces. We gained a lot of great information that we're able to incorporate into our teacher workshop. So we have a plan in place, but there are some constraints. We do have a very nice budget to work with, but everything that we order has to go through the district and be approved by them, which has been taking a lot longer than expected. Because of this, we did not set a date for everything to be set up and ready to operate because we're not sure when we will get the approval for all of our furniture and supplies. Our hope and overall goal is for the space to be open and ready for teachers by the end of January. Even though we did not have all of our supplies yet, we set the date for our teacher workshop and had it on November 29th. The teachers now have some necessary groundwork to begin thinking of how they can use the makerspace to support student learning while everything is still getting ready and set up. So part of our plan was to attend a makerspace workshop to learn a little bit more about the ins and outs of creating a successful makerspace. So this really helped us prepare for facilitating our staff workshop. So we were able to tinker with some different tools and materials We learned about low-tech projects, high-tech projects, different teaching options, and really how to motivate students and create a successful makerspace. And all this information we were able to take and incorporate into our staff development. After attending the workshop, my teammate and I started planning our own staff makerspace workshop. We met multiple times and worked together to plan what we wanted the teachers to learn, and we came up with ideas for activities for the teachers to engage in, and even one that they could use with their class. We decided to divide responsibilities, so I was in charge of putting a presentation together in PowerPoint, while she would prepare a handout for teachers to take notes and resources for them. The different parts of our Makerspace workshop included an engaging maker activity, an article on makerspaces and why to have one, design thinking strategies, and indicators of student learning and how to know if they're learning in a maker environment. Part of our workshop was an engaging activity where teachers actually got to make something. So this was a very simple challenge. We gave them some coffee stir sticks and straws and gave them a challenge of making a triangle with it however they could. And so we asked them to explore the materials and figure out, how they work, how would a student see them, and what could a student do with them. And they had to make the triangle. So here's a staff member with her triangle. We also focused on design thinking, which is a process of project-based planning for students to use and for teachers to use while planning projects. Um, Students are presented with a problem or they discover their own problem or need. They can define that problem and do research, come up with ideas, make prototypes, implement those ideas and test them, and then evaluate and retest. And it's a cycle that goes through. And it really helps students develop skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, college and career readiness, and social and emotional learning, which are all vital skills that our students need to develop. In a makerspace, you have a lot of different options and approaches for using the space and engaging students in making activities, such as exploration, which kind of is just here are some supplies, what can you do with it, and let them explore and tinker and come up with different ideas on their own. One-offs would be if you only have a tool or material for a certain amount of time, you might only be able to do one project with it and then move on to something else. Integrated projects are what you would consider your typical STEAM projects where you're incorporating multiple contents into learning. And our triangle activity would be a good example of a challenge prompt. They were given the challenge of making a triangle with the given materials. So teachers now have a good idea of different options that they have for utilizing this space and planning different projects. We also discussed evidence of learning. Some teachers may question, well, how do you know they're learning while they're making? There's no right or wrong answers. There's not a test to show they're learning. So we provided a couple different ways to document student learning, such as using a learning rubric so the teacher can walk around while students are in the making process and just kind of make notes or gauge what they're doing. Are they participating? Are they really working collaboratively with their teammates? So that's one way. And then another way we talked about was video or photo documentation or reflection. And this could be students taking their own videos, taking their own photos, writing notes, or doing video reflections with their teammates, talking about what they're doing. Did their prototype work? What changes did they have to make to it? So those are two options a teacher can use to document the learning process and show evidence of student learning. And finally, we ended by having the teachers take the triangle they made at the very beginning and combine it with the other teachers at their table to create one freestanding sculpture. So they had to come up with a way to connect all their triangles together. They came up with some great ideas for straw connectors, and we had some that moved. It was a kinetic sculpture. And it was really great to see the teachers working together and collaborating, which is really what we want to see in our classrooms as well. While this project is still ongoing, I feel we are off to a really great start. We have the majority of our supplies and furniture ordered. We're just waiting for them to be approved and arrive so we can set up the space. I feel our workshop was successful. We had some really positive teacher feedback, and we were able to provide our teachers with a new perspective on makerspaces and tinkering and how they can fit into the classroom curriculum. I even have teachers already kind of starting this project-based STEAM maker um, projects in their classroom. They're coming to me for ideas and supplies, which is really great to already see happening. While we have a good start, there's still more to do. When our supplies come in, we'll still need to set up our space, and we'll need to communicate some norms and expectations for using the space, such as how to sign up your class and what to do with the supplies, how to put them away, and things like that. And once our space is all set up, we can finally start making. I'm excited to see all the wonderful projects that will come out of this space, and also excited to see the learning that will happen in this space. So thank you for watching my servant leadership project, and I hope you learned a little bit something about makerspaces.